I'm Detective Arnett with the Lynnwood Police Department. I investigate persons crimes, but more specifically, I handle most of our sexual assaults and crimes against children.
My name is Tiffany Cruzy, and I am the Victim Services Coordinator for the Lynnwood Police Department.
The first person that they disclose to, you're going to frame the incident with them because you're sounding board, but you are also going to be the sounding board for that victim to determine whether or not they're going to make a report to law enforcement or CPS. So my victims have reported some of the most difficult questions they received that were not helpful in their disclosure is when the adult or the listening party says, "Why didn't you tell me that sooner?" They already have a fear of not being believed. So they don't need to hear or be concerned about your feelings and judgment about why they didn't disclose sooner. As an adult, I've had many adult victims asked why they didn't report it to law enforcement. You may ask, why were you there? Or why didn't you fight back? And I hope that you've learned through these that the reason they were there was because the suspect was a loved one or an acquaintance or a friend, and it was very reasonable to be with them. There is a myth about fight or flight. We don't see that. We see the third option.
Or the fourth option, which is fawning, where they will do everything they can to appease the individual in order to make the incident stop. We see that a lot in domestic violence as well.
Yeah, or we see freeze.
Freezing, right.
I don't know what to do. My brain has never thought about this situation, and so my brain is making a plan to escape it, but by the time I have a plan, the environment has already changed, and the offender is now doing something different that I have to make a new plan for. And now I just want to stay safe and hope it stops soon.
For lack of a better term, check your questions and your judgment at the door. I think it's important to say, thank you for sharing this. What are the next steps we can take to help you feel safer?
I think another really supportive statement you can make is, I believe you. That's an important piece that a lot of our victims talk about wanting to hear. And we keep saying victims. A lot of my victims also hate the word victim.
Yeah.
And they may, if you can take that qualifier away, that can be really helpful. A lot of times we call them survivors of sex assault. Can I go with you to make a report to law enforcement? It implies that a report should be made, but it also tells them, I'm supportive, I'm going to go with you through this process.
I'm a family nurse practitioner and forensic medical examiner. Dawson Place is the Snohomish County Child Advocacy building. And located inside Dawson Place are 5 community partners. Providence Intervention Center, there's Compass Health, there's a child interview specialist, there is a CPS caseworker here, there's the Sheriff's Department Sexual Assault Unit, and the Prosecutor's Office Special Investigative Unit. I will sit down with the adult and we'll go over all of the consents for services, and then we'll talk about the history of the event. They can share with me as much or as little as they want to about what happened to them. And that's often the hardest part of this whole exam process, is talking about what happened. Then we review their general health history. And then we'll talk about what kind of an exam they want and what their concerns are, because we never force an exam on anyone. And the main purpose of our medical exams is to make sure that if they have injuries, they get treated. If they've been exposed to STDs, those get tested for and treated as well. Collecting forensic evidence is a second part of our exam, but that's done more or less as a courtesy so that they don't have to have law enforcement come in and collect that evidence. So we will do it as we do the exam if there's evidence to collect. If they're within the first 120 hours following the assault or 5 to 7 days out, then the likelihood of us getting evidence is much better. There are studies now that say DNA hangs out in the vaginal area up to 30 days out, but we typically don't collect evidence beyond about a week out from the event. Please come and make sure that you're healthy. Whether or not you report to law enforcement, it's important that you get tested for STDs and make sure that any injuries you may have get treated and taken care of. That's our primary goal, is to make sure that that patients get the support they need, referrals to counseling, and other community resources if they need them.
I am the legal advocate specialist here at Providence Intervention Center for Assault and Abuse. We would sit during those SANE exams, a sexual assault nursing exam, with a forensic team. We're that kind of support person during that medical exam. If they need water, they need a break. Us advocates have different levels of confidentiality that other mandated reporters might not. Advocates are also mandated reporters, but adults, they can tell us things and we don't have to even share it with the medical staff. So at that medical appointment, we sit there with them and we provide that support. It can be a very awkward exam. We help them fill out crime victim compensation paperwork because some people are stressed about medical bills and that might be a barrier why they don't make it to a hospital. But crime victim compensation could potentially fill out and help pay for those medical expenses. As a legal advocate, I provide a lot of support around civil protection orders. There is 5 different civil protection orders someone can apply for. It depends on the relationship of the person that was caused harm and the relationship between them and the person that did the harm. So we have to look at that factor first, and then we have to figure out what harm was experienced to see which protection order they apply for. Can be a very overwhelming process having experienced abuse, and then you have to go and get this giant packet of paperwork and you have to figure out how to file that in the court on your own. So I help them through that entire process, from filing for temporary orders. When they receive a temporary order and a hearing notice, I can go to court with them to provide support, help them feel prepared, help them gather evidence to file in the courts.
My name is Bob Langman. I'm a prosecuting attorney here in the Special Assault Unit. The first thing I tell victims whenever I meet with them, I never ask them about what happened to them, because I already know what happened to them. I want to know how they are. I want to know more about them. I want to talk to them about their likes, their dislikes, what they're scared of, things like that. But my meeting with them, I always talk to them about, don't worry about trial. We have no idea what's going to happen with this case. And taking on the emotional burden of what is a trial going to look like that early in the process is too much for them. So I tell them, don't worry about that right now. Let me worry about that. You worry about, I always tell them the same thing. I can't take care of you. You have to take care of you. So I want you to take care of yourself physically, spiritually, emotionally, whatever that is for you. I need you to take care of yourself because I can't do that for you. I work very closely with a victim's advocate, and her job is to make sure that she is advocating for the victim and has a voice in court. My job is to prosecute the case, and there are, most of the time, what I want to see happen with the case and what a victim wants to see happen are the same thing. But it may be that I think something should happen on a case where the victim's advocate says that's not what the victim wants, and it's her job to really advocate for that position. It is very rare for us to have physical DNA in a sexual assault case. Because of the nature of the cases where somebody may not have disclosed right away, sometimes all we have is the word of the victim, and that is absolutely enough for us to be able to prosecute the case. You cannot, when you are a juror, sit there and say, well, I know that this person has been victimized because they said it a certain way, or acted a certain way, or behaved a certain way. Everybody reacts to trauma differently. I've had victims that are smiling and laughing while talking about what happened to them because it's their nerves and they don't know how to react otherwise. I've had victims that are sobbing. Both of them are telling the truth.
you.